And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today, I am talking with Alexis Haselberger. And well, first of all, before I tell them who you are and what you do, thank you, Alexis, for squeezing me into your schedule.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It's going to be a great conversation. Alexis is, and I really just, I don't even like this because it pigeonholes you so much, time management and productivity coach. But oh, hang on, because how she helps you gain more free time, get more done with less stress is really quite amazing. So you're going to love this conversation. And how about we just start diving into that, Alexis, by telling me how in the world did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, happy to. And I think that you're right to say we don't want to pigeonhole with the time management and productivity coach, because I actually hate those terms. I just didn't know what else to call myself. Because, my goal is not work, like do hustle, do all the things. It's how do we use our time in service of our goals and values so that we can have more time for the stuff that we want and less time for the stuff that we don't, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so a little tangent there, but in any case, so I spent the first 15 years or so of my career in early stage startups. I live here in San Francisco, tech, everything is tech around here. Worked at a lot of startups. People are trying to build something great from nothing. People work long hours, they stress out, they're, at the office all of the time. And that was just not my bag. I loved working at the startups, but I wasn't going to work until 10 p.m. or all night or et cetera. I always wanted to have a life outside of my work. Work is important, but also my life is more important than work. And so I started just developing systems and processes. And I also have struggles. I have a terrible memory and, and there's a lot of things I actually learned in my early 40s that I have ADHD. So there's all these things that kind of built up to it in retrospect that make sense. But I basically had to create systems so that I could get things done and so that I could remember everything because my brain wasn't going to do it for me. Right. And I wanted to be really efficient because, as I like to call myself a very driven, lazy person, right? I don't want to do more work than I have to.
Love it.
But I like to do things really well. I have a high bar for what I'm doing, but I want to do that with the least amount of time and effort, right? And so people started to notice this along the way because I was getting a lot done and I had a couple kids along the way and I was leaving at 5 every day and still, getting promoted and things like that. And so people started coming to me for this stuff. And long story short, the last company that I worked for before I started my business, the CEO came to me one day and he was like, "Hey, do you think you could just do a productivity workshop for the company just based on all the stuff you already do?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. And so I did that. And I think that actually sparked a little thing in the back of my mind of, what, this stuff is not taught in school. Nobody teaches it in school. People either kind of sink or swim. People have been coming to me for this stuff for years. So I bet there's a product market fit there because I could teach people this stuff. This is not stuff you're innately good at or bad. I mean, some people are good at it and some people are bad at it, but it's not like it can't change, right? It's a skill we can learn just like any other skill. And then I started to notice that people have a lot of shame around this stuff too, and that I can help with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's skill, it can be learned. That's awesome. It also, you also need the systems for it to become a habit. So I'm rereading after 32 years for probably my 100th time, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a great book. The problem with books like that or Think and Grow Rich, whatever, is we read them or go, yeah, and then we try it and it's like, and then life happens and we don't have systems. We don't have somebody who can guide and direct and help us build that repetition that's so very valuable. So, all right, so let's talk. How do you help? What are people struggling with when they come to you? Why did that CEO come to you? What was he seeing in his organization? What do we see as entrepreneurs that cause us to go, yeah, I wish I could get better at that?
Yeah, I mean, I think at its heart, it's stress, right? It's like the people that I work with, I would say they're not all, but most fall into this category that I call very successful people who have gotten there by brute force, right? And it's like, we're going to outwork, we're going to just work longer, we're going to work harder, we're going to make it happen. And then they've achieved some level of success and they're like, okay, I want to stay here, or I want to keep growing. but I don't want to do it at the expense of my personal life. I don't want to do it at the expense of my health. I don't want to do it at the expense of my family anymore. And so that's actually when people are reaching out to me, because they've gotten there one way and they don't know how to stay there in any other way. Right. And so I think that's the thing. So now there are a number of other symptoms, right? It's like, we get a million emails, we have too many meetings, we say yes to too many things. Like there's all these other things, but I think at heart, it's this, like, I should be able to get everything done and I'm not. And like, the secret is nobody's going to get everything done. Like you, me, everybody else, we're all going to die with a big, long list of things we did not do. And that is just fine. Right. Like that, not only is it just fine, it's happening. And so we can either get comfortable with it and we can start to learn to prioritize, or we can continue to be stressed about it.
Yeah, that's great. I just had this vision of like a tombstone or an epitaph with like ... on it.
Right.
She lays here, but her list continues on because
exactly. Yes, it will.
It's brilliant. Yeah, and it's, we hear it all the time. You're on the hamster wheel or the gerbil wheel. You get all these emails, and people put their badges on. Well, I got 400 emails a day. I'm like, I've built systems. Now I've built systems, put people around me. I probably see in my inbox about 20 emails a day, because everything else has been set up with filters or I've deleted, because I don't need 90% of what comes my way. I have a team, I have systems, because I need to stay focused on those high payoff, high leverage activities, like being on this interview with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to do when I have 300 emails and they're all up here going, well, I wonder what they said. I wonder what they.
Right.
It's systems. It's understanding the value of my time in relation to life. Let's talk about that, because too many times as entrepreneurs, we are focused on business, and it's important, but how do you help them?
Yeah, business is important. I agree with you, but also, I don't know about you, but I think life is really important too. And as much as I absolutely love what I do every single day, I would always rather be doing something else, right? Like I would always rather be on a beach with a book, or hanging out with my kids, or like crocheting or cooking or whatever. There's like a million things that I would rather be doing than working, even though I love what I do, right? And then if you don't love what you do, then it's an even bigger chasm there, right? And so I think that a lot of times people are stuck in this place where they assume that the only way they can achieve or maintain success is to do nothing but work. Right. And it takes like I always think of things this way. Sometimes people come, they're like, no, like I am successful because I have done X, Y, or Z. And my twist is always like, are you successful despite having done X, Y, and Z? Right. Because if we don't try, we don't know.
Right.
And we have to experiment with these things. And I think, something you said earlier about reading these books, right? Like 7 Habits and getting things done and all of these things, is the other problem with that stuff is not only that it's just aspirational and that it doesn't provide the how necessarily, it provides the what, but not the how, but it was also written for somebody else's brain. Right. Yeah. And so some of that stuff, like certainly there are nuggets of wisdom in every single one of those, but they might be different nuggets for me than for you. And I think what people try to do is they, okay, I read Getting Things Done and I'm going to go do all of this stuff. And then it just doesn't work for their lifestyle or their brain or, whatever. And then they feel like they've failed instead of adapting, iterating, experimenting to find the systems that actually work for them.
Yeah. And yes. And I have a term that I use, and maybe this resonates, right? Is after I read a book like that and I try it and then it doesn't work right, is the guilt avalanche starts coming. It's like, I'm not worthy. I'm terrible. Right. And it may have nothing to do with that.
No.
But what happens is we buy a book because everybody's raving about it.
Right.
So this is the answer. Right. I read it and I'm like, I don't get it. Or I need more help. So my son and I just hired another business mentor, right?
Yeah.
And we've decided that for us, we've transitioned through stages of coaching, masterminds and things, but we're at that level that we need a business mentor, because we need somebody to come in and go, oh, y'all, you guys need to be doing it this way, because they've built business, right? I think the same thing with time management, life management. You need somebody that you can talk with and vet these ideas. And then have Alexis go, okay, have you thought about this? Or based on what you're telling me, let's try this.
Right.
Is this kind of how you work with people in I know you got coaching programs, but you do coaching. How do people get help?
Yeah.
They'll struggle.
Yeah, happy to share. And I'm gonna kind of take you through what my process looks like.
Yeah.
But also I think you're totally right. It's like a lot of it is like, okay, let's try it this way. Have we thought about it this way? And then there's another key that's like, okay, and now we've tried it and it's not quite working. We're not going to throw in the towel. We're going to keep trying, because we've all been fed this total lie that a habit can be built in 21 days, right? We've all heard this, and it's based on faulty old data. There's newer data that suggests that habits take somewhere between 3 weeks and 9 months to build, right? And so often we're just thrown in the towel way too early. But what I do when I work with people is I take them through a special arc, essentially, right? And so it's individualized at each level, but also it's the same stuff, because everybody is struggling with the same stuff. Just maybe some people are struggling more over here and some people are more over here. So I start with everybody with, let's learn more about yourself exactly as you are, right? There are a number of different traits, tendencies, et cetera, that I have found have something to do with how we get things done. And knowing where we are on these can help us triangulate which strategies are going to work. Like, for example, I am a night person. Waking up has been the hardest thing that I've had to do since I was 5 years old. It's hard every single day. The world is built for morning people. Like, I am a night person, and I need to work with that, because otherwise I'm just struggling against it constantly. And maybe that's one of the reasons I'm an entrepreneur, is because you have more flexibility in terms of your ability of when you can work, right? So we start there. And then we move into task management, because task management and time management are almost synonymous. It's like, what are the things and when are we going to do them? Right.
That's right.
And what are we not going to do? Right. Then we move into prioritization. So my goal with everyone is to teach them how to prioritize in such a way that they know that the things they did today were more important than the things they didn't do, and to feel equally comfortable with the things they did do and the things they didn't, because they know they made the right decisions about that. Then we move into planning, and planning is kind of, daily planning, weekly planning, but like low effort, high reward planning, so that you don't wake up and are like, oh my God, what does this day hold for me, right? You have a plan you can evaluate against, because of course your plan will change. Then we move into our tools. So all of email, calendar, meeting audits, getting everyone to inbox zero. How do we handle Slack and the influx of Teams and all those messages and text messages and WhatsApp and all of that stuff? Document management. Then we move into habits, right? So just like you and I have been talking about, at this point, we're kind of 3/4 of the way through. And some of the things that people have done come super easy, right? And some of the things are a big struggle, like changing the way you've handled email for the last 25 years. That's a big, that can be hard for folks. So we use science-backed strategies to help them, because willpower and motivation, in my opinion, do not habit make. We need actual strategies. Then we move into efficiency. So it's templatizing, batch processing, outsourcing, delegation. Like, how can we make the time we want to spend working as efficient as possible so we have more time for the other stuff? And then lastly, we end on focus. And so focus is two things for me. One, getting rid of as many distractions as we can. And two, how do you focus even the absence of distractions? Because I don't know, you tell me, have you been in a room all alone by yourself, no distractions, your phone's not even in there, and you still can't focus on what you're trying to do?
Oh yeah. Way too many things coming in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's kind of the arc that I take people through. And then we're customizing for their life, their circumstances at every step of the way.
Yeah. And I love that. And y'all are going to have to go back and re-listen to that. And because too many times we think time management is one thing. I just need to get better at email.
Right.
Well, no, get better at email. Guess what? You still have all this other stuff pulling at you. You're not, and what you just talked about in this arc is a lot of things that if you made 1% improvement in all of them, oh my goodness, right? It's not rocket science, but you need somebody like Alexis who's on the outside looking in and who can guide you and say, here's the pathway, let's talk. All right, this week, I want you to do this, right? So that's why at the beginning, I didn't want to pigeonhole you as a time management. No, this is so much. And really at the big, for me, when I started my company years ago, I mean, here's one of my things. I wanted to do, so I'm a follower of Christ, and I want to do ministry during the day. And I lay that out early.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that I have to have a business that can operate without me, so that if I get a call from a guy who says, hey, I need to meet, can you meet at like 2:00 or whatever? I can usually say, I can probably make that happen, because that's one of my values.
Mm-hmm.
In order to make that happen, though, I've got to have a lot of this in place. And it didn't happen from day one, right? It was a vision, a dream, a goal, and I had to work to make it happen. Going back to knowing, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
It is not for the almighty dollar. That just helps. It's just a tool. It helps me hire people so that I can buy back my time, so I can do those things like go to the beach with a book. I love that.
Right.
That's kind of what you help entrepreneurs and people do, is wrestle with all that and find some clarity to walk them through now a process. Fair?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to put it, right? It's like we are trying to, and I think something really valuable that you said there is, it's not easy, right? It's not like, you just snap you're like, this is the kind of life I want, and like tomorrow I have it, right? That is not it at all. And I think that oftentimes people are looking for like a silver bullet, right?
Yeah.
Of like, well, if I just find this, I mean, this is, sometimes people say this about, I have online courses and I'll get some reviews and most of them are amazing. And like every once in a while, there's somebody in there. And sometimes they're like, well, this is not new information. And I'm like, yeah. Well, I mean, what do you like? It's not like there's, I don't know what you expect there to be new.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's just the way we combine certain things and how we adapt them to ourselves, because we're all different. And so the systems you have in place for your business work really well for you right now. And as your company grows, you probably have to change those systems too, right?
Okay.
I mean, the same thing happens for me. It's like, I started this business because I also, well, one, I wanted to help people with this, because I saw there was such a gap, and that this was an area where I could really improve the quality of people's lives. But I also wanted to improve the quality of my own life, right? And so I came in saying, like, I don't want to work more than 40 hours a week. In fact, I don't really want to work more than 30 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
And like, here are the things that are important for me to do. And then what are the choices and sacrifices that I have to make those things happen? Because, I probably say no to a lot more things, right? I'm definitely not the person saying yes to everything. I don't volunteer every week in my kids' school. I volunteer specifically for specific things, but I'm not in there every week. There are choices that we have to make. And I think this is something, it's really, really hard for people to wrestle with, the fact that they're going to have to make choices.
Yep. Oh, that is so good. So I've got 2 old sons who are 28 and 24, and I've got 2 young daughters who are 14 and 12.
Okay.
Super busy, super active, right?
Yep.
But we limit it, but we look at our neighbors who have kids, and every night they're going to gymnastics or cheer or this or that. And it's like, well, can't you go down the road and play with, oh no, they're, but those are choices. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. They're choices. But what we have to understand is that we have the ability to choose. Right. I have the ability to say, no, I have another commitment. And that commitment might be sitting on my deck reading a book.
Right. Yeah. And you don't even have to say, I have another commitment. You could just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. I hope you have a fantastic time. Right. Absolutely. Like, we don't even have to do that. And I have 2 kids too, and they're also 12 and 14. So I'm right there in there with you. My boys are 12 and 14, but I feel the same thing, right? It's like, so many of their friends, it's like they have got a different thing every single day after school. And like in our family, we decided that when we had kids, we decided that like family dinner was a non-negotiable. So we have dinner together every single night. And, sometimes we have it late, right? If one of the kids has an activity or something, but really the kids they do kind of 1 or 2 activities at a time. We don't push it. If they want to do something, they ask us and we sign them up for it. But, I am also secretly very happy that my kids are just kind of like mediocre at sports, right? Because I don't want to spend my whole weekends traveling to different states for baseball tournaments and things like that. Like, that's not how I want to spend my life, right? And what am I teaching them if I'm spending all of my time in service of chauffeuring them around instead of doing things that I care about too? Yeah.
No, I love it. You're hitting my hot buttons, because this relates to business, in that I hear a lot of business owners who are like, well, I have to go to these networking events and I fill my calendar with all these networking events, even though I really don't like them, but I go there anyway, or I'm doing this, or I'm building this really long, complex funnel because that's what I'm supposed to, or why?
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
I totally agree. I think so I read a book recently, and it's just a novel, but there was a line that literally stopped. I was on a run and I was like listening to this audiobook, and there was a line, and then I had to stop running to like rewind to be like, what did they just say? So I could write it down. And the line in the book was, there are always things to do. Most of them are pointless. And I was like, it's so true. It's so true. Because I think you're right. Like, yeah, is it important to build? It's like, what is the reason behind why we're doing the things? And then is there a different way to do it? So the networking thing, right? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur too. You are. I'm sure we both find relationship building to be valuable. We probably both like giving to other people. We like building that stuff. But do we need to do it all of the time, right? Or do we need to do it judiciously in certain moments? So for me, it's like I protect about an hour a week on my calendar on Fridays for networking calls, right? Yeah. And sometimes when somebody wants to meet with me, I'll send them that Calendly link, which is also a system that just has, those available spots. And they'll say, well, there's nothing available on your calendar for 2 months. And I'll say, yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But I would love to talk to you in 2 months.
That's right. Because guess what? In 2 months, I'll be here. And if you wait, there'll be 2 more months. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And people get wigged out about that. It's like, well, you're missing opportunities. It's like, no, I'm not. Because if they're really interested, they'll wait. And it's all right. It's but what we're talking about is building your life the way I'm followed Dan Kennedy for years in direct marketing. And he always said, create your life and build a business to support that. Mm-hmm. And at first, when I first heard that, I thought that was like really selfish and self-centered. And I thought, but then as I grew, I'm like, oh, no, you're absolutely right. I'm serving everybody, but I'm saying this is my life. Mm-hmm. My business supports my life, and it's awesome. And I want to help you do the same thing. And that's really what you do, is you help entrepreneurs build their life, get all this stuff done, or well, some of it, not everything, but through systems, through processes, through understanding. Is there a better, different way to handle email or meetings or communication or whatever? Yeah. And what should you say no to? I mean, that is the biggest thing there, is there's that, like, people are in all these meetings that they don't need to be, right? They're in meetings that they feel like it's a waste of their time. They go to it every single week and they feel like it's the total waste of my time every single time. And yet they're still going, right? They're answering all of those emails, right? It's like, hey, if you're the entrepreneur, I work with a lot of execs too, and, businesses where they're not entrepreneurs, like, you don't need to chime in every single time you get there's a Slack message in that channel. Wait for your employees to kind of figure it out. And if they need you, they'll ping you, right? Like, it's like, people are always shocked that I have, you and I shared, we never work more than 40 hours a week. I have also never checked email on vacation in my entire life. And I worked for other companies for 15 years of that. And people are always shocked by that. And I'm like, what happens? You get back, 80% of the stuff is already handled without you, because none of us are as important as we think, right? And then your employees have learned some things. And then you get back and there's like a few things that they really did need your input on, and those rise to the top, and you handle them, and it's fine. That's right. And if you build systems and people properly, you can take those vacations, right? I took a sabbatical. I was in ministry for 10 years, and I took a month-long sabbatical once. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not checking email. And so my email autoresponder said, your email has been deleted. Yeah. And then I explained it. And I said, no, seriously, I deleted it because I'm not coming back from vacation with 3,000 emails to wait. Yeah. I came back with 0 because I deleted it. And I said, if it's really urgent, either call that person or email me on that date. Yep. I'm not going to see your email. And everybody's like, oh, you did that? I'm like, yeah, I actually did that. And it's okay. Yeah. It's totally okay. And it's funny, I'm taking a sabbatical this summer. I'm taking a 6-week sabbatical. And while I think my approach is a little bit different, my husband does exactly what you do with the deleting. I just block off the first full day that I'm back and devote that fully to the email. But we all have different ways of getting there. And it's the same thing. It's like, I'm not going to check it. I'm going to have an autoresponder that's going to tell people, you know what, if there's something super, like if there's a true emergency, and honestly, like
what is going to
What
be
would
a
that
true
be?
emergency? What would that even be? Right. But I, like to give people an out. Is it a true emergency? Then you can email my assistant and he will be able to contact me on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But like, you're not going to get an answer quickly. And also, what kind of emergency really is there going to be for my business that I run that I'm basically not going to be seeing clients during that time, right?
Yeah, no. So my autoresponder says, if this is a true emergency, dial 911. Otherwise, because I can't help you then, but otherwise,
Yeah.
But you got to have some fun with it to let
Yeah.
people know it's all right. Really, no,
It's
nobody's
fine.
gonna. You're not gonna die.
Yeah. I know. I have a client who runs an ER here in San Francisco, and she has in her out of office reply, or just in her, just in the signature, it just says, I process email a few times a day. So if you don't hear from me right away, please don't send a well check to my house.
Seriously, yeah, I love it. I love it. So much. You and I think could talk for the next day and a half at least. Just because this is such a big part, and I'm grateful to have you here, because most of my client or guests on Expert Speak are like marketing and things, which is really important, but time management and stuff, if you're not a good time manager, personal manager of the time that you have, your marketing is going to suffer, because you're not spending what I call thinking time, deep thought into, well, should I be doing that or should I be doing this? Well, let's just do it and try.
Yeah.
No. Prioritization, planning, having the right tools, developing habits, all of that Alexis can help you make sense of without buying the next book or listening to the next YouTube video. They can all be helpful. Yeah. But having somebody like Alexis in your corner, access to her before she takes her 6 weeks sabbatical, and but to just walk through this and go, this is not quick fix. This is not a purple pill. This is lifestyle.
Yeah.
If that's where you are and what you're wanting to do, to really make a trajectory change of even 1 degree that down the road gets you to a different place in life, Alexis might be the right next step for you. So Alexis, if this, I know it's been intriguing to me, if it's been intriguing to my audience, where can they find you? What's their next step in starting that process with you?
Yeah, perfect. So if people are hearing, thank you for asking. If people are hearing and they're like, oh, I'm ready to learn more right now, they can go to my website. It's alexishaselberger.com, which I hope you'll put in the show notes, because no one will be able to spell it. That's the problem when you have a name like mine and then you name your company that name. Yep. But when you go there, you can sign up for a free consultation with me where we can just see if it's a good fit, what your needs are. I can learn more about you. I offer one-on-one coaching, and I offer a group coaching program twice a year. And so in September, when I'm back from my sabbatical, that group coaching program will be running again. You can also, if you're kind of, hey, I'm interested, but I'm not ready to talk yet, you can find me on all the socials. So I'm on Facebook at Do More Stress Less, on Instagram at do.more.stress.less, and on TikTok, I think it's the same one as the Instagram one.
Well, good. I normally default to LinkedIn and website, and from there, 99% of the time, we can find you.
Yes, well, you'll have all of that.
And you get bonus points if you can find her during her 6-week sabbatical, lying on a beach reading a book. You get bonus. Alexis, thank you. This has been super intriguing, super helpful, because you deal with an area that a lot of people don't have expertise in, and that's why I think you are a great guest for Experts Speak. And I hope that more and more people will become like you and me, becoming very driven, lazy people. Yeah. I love that. So I grabbed all that. That's all going to be in the show notes. So if you're on a run, like Alexis was on a run and she just stopped you, just go to the show notes. I've got the information where you can connect with Alexis, and she can help you do more with less stress and really just live the life you want, building systems, teams, and taking hold of life and time. So Alexis, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a really fun conversation.